Alright, welcome to this video. My name is Taylor Bencher and we're going to go over how to retain clients for years. Alright, now the whiteboard might look very simple, but we're going to go in depth into each one of these things. Now, this is going to be extremely valuable for you if you're running an agency and you have clients, period. That's it. Assuming you're on a retainer model and it's not like a one-time project, it's going to be very valuable for you. Obviously, the longer you retain a client, the greater the lifetime value of a client actually is. So it starts out with this. You have your agency and this thing is like the machine, right? And clients come in through this little funnel and then they're in the agency and sometimes they leave the agency through this little like porthole thing. And why do people leave? It's usually to do with one of these 5 different variables that they will leave, okay? And we're gonna go through each one of these kind of in depth. The first one is results, okay? Now, I'm just going to talk about if you want to retain them for 3 years, then we're going to go over the flip side, which is like basically how to get results, how to do the retainer, how to do the contracts, how to have really good communication, how to make sure you can build connection with the client, etc. But let's just go through this first. The variables are results, retainer, contracts, communication, and connection. These are kind of the 5 things that I found that whenever we lost a client, it was because we were missing one of these things. Okay, now they are in order of, in my opinion, most important to least important, more or less. This one could probably be above contracts. So results is by far most important. This is the #1 reason why most clients will leave, is just because if the results go down, if something happens in their business and you can't adjust with that issue in the business, like for example, inventory goes out of stock and now the advertising needs to get turned off for certain products, and this means that our retainer isn't worth what it's worth because we're not getting the same results, so we need to adjust the retainer, etc. Or you're just doing a terrible job and the results are poor. That's obviously the most obvious one that there is. The second is the retainer. So some people will charge too high for what the services that they're providing. Another agency will come along. The agency will say, we could do that for 1/10 the price. We could do that for 1/5 the price. We could get those results, no problem. And this is a problem in advertising in the agency world, because for us, we create the campaigns for the client, and any agency could technically come in and just maintain those campaigns. And that's a much easier job than it is to create profitable campaigns. So you have to watch out for this one, which we'll talk about more in depth. Contracts is another thing. Obviously, if you have a 12-month contract with a client, they're going to definitely be with you for a year, depending on the terms of that contract. If they can cancel, if they do cancel, do they have to pay out the rest of the contract, the terms of the contract. And then communication is very, very, very important. So just basically, do you actually communicate with the client what you guys are doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, what the goals are? What's the communication like? Because if you just don't really communicate with the client and you don't talk to them ever, and you don't really say anything, they're going to get worried that you're not doing any work. Even if the results are fantastic, if you don't communicate properly, you're going to lose the client. And I'll tell you an example of how that's happened to us. The last one's connection. Very simple. Just basically like, if you've been with a client for a long time, if you can send him a gift, or you can send him a message saying Merry Christmas or Happy Birthday, or whatever, and you following your clients on Facebook, on LinkedIn, liking some of their posts, and basically just being more connected into their life outside of business. And that goes to build greater rapport, which goes to them becoming more of almost like a friend instead of a client. Now, don't get me wrong, they're still a client, and your goal is to get them results. But this just helps retain them for longer, because they become more familiar with you and who you are, etc. Aside from just them being a client, you just being the agency providing a service. Okay, so first one is results. Now, I can't go too in depth with this because this is to do with your agency, right? The agency, the service that you provide, it has to do with results. But I know that for us, what we try to do is always make sure that the results are the best that they can be. And I know I said results right here, so I gotta put an L there. But the point is that the better the results are, the better and happier the clients are going to be. And so if you just kind of, you just go on autopilot mode and you're not really doing the work that you're supposed to be doing to get the better results for the clients, then the clients will likely notice at some point and you're gonna lose them. So results is #1. That's kind of our main focus in the agency, is results for the client. #2 is retainer. This one's interesting because it's almost like your pricing. Okay, how do you come up with a good price that's fair based on the results that you deliver? Okay, I recommend you price based on results, not based on time, not based on what you feel like you should be paid. not based on anything except for results that you're getting the client. We just did an audit on an account 2 days ago, and the forecast on the audit for that account was that we can increase their sales by between 120 or 130 to $200,000 per month. So almost an extra $2.4 million per year, and at a break even, if not slightly profitable rate. And so we said, you know what, our retainer for this is probably going to be around $5,000 a month. Just starting out to see how things perform, because even though we're doing an audit, it's a forecast. It may not perform as an increase of 200,000. It might be only an increase of 100,000, but we're going to start out with a $5,000 retainer. So let's say we increase his sales by $100,000 a month. We're charging pretty much 5% of the results that we're delivering. If we increase his sales by 200,000, you know, that's 2.5%. So it's a very minor amount to pay given the upside, right? And when we think about retainers and pricing, I just think about like asymmetric relationships, so that when we are on a sales call with a client and the client says, okay, well, you know, this is great, you can increase my sales by $100,000 a month. How much is the fee, right? So let's just say it's $100,000 increase per month at a break even, if not profitable rate. And you ask me, hey, well, what's your fee going to be to increase my sales by $100,000 per month? I'm going to tell you, yeah, my fee is going to be $5,000 per month, okay? And when you look at this, you look at 100,000, you look at 5,000, it's completely, the relationship is completely asymmetric. This is so minor to what this is, like the upside is so huge compared to the fee, right? And honestly, this is actually like the worst case scenario is 100,000. The best case for that client is like 200,000. So it's even crazier when you think about 200,000. It's almost double this. But that's how we go about pricing, is we say, look, like, you know, we can increase your sales by this amount. This is our fee. And relative to the increase, it's going to be negligible, right? It's like almost nothing. So our retainers are, the way that we kind of structure it is, it's almost like an indisputable price. The moment they hear the price, there shouldn't be any objections. If there are objections, it could be because they're working with a current agency that's doing a poor job, that's charging only $500 a month, and they think that, you know, it's not worth $5,000 a month, and they can't see how it's $5,000 per month worth of work to get this result of $100,000. I've encountered that before, and sometimes when people are hesitant to pay $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month, regardless of the upside, you just gotta like tell them, hey, look, like the current agency you're with or whoever's managing your current campaigns, you know, they've been missing out on $100,000 to $200,000 per year for probably 2 or 3 years now. So with your current setup, you've already lost, let's just say $3.6 million in the last 3 years, or let's just say it's at least $1 million in the last year, $1.2 million, could be 2.4. And you know, that's your current results for your current agency that's charging you $500 a month, or your current team member that's doing this process. So you can keep going and losing $100,000 a month, or you can pay us 5% of that loss, and we'll make sure that you make this money. And so that's usually as simple as it gets when people have an issue with paying the price. I'll just tell them like, hey, look, you know, you've already lost millions of dollars. What is paying us $5,000 going to hurt you? You've already lost millions. That's how we do retainers. We make sure it's negligible. It's an asymmetric relationship relative to the results that we're going to get them. Contracts is an interesting one, and I wouldn't say that we're a master at this. It's always something that we're still trying to figure out and get better at. But the approach that we typically take right now is just that when we sign a client, we tell them, hey, look, this is how we work. We do a 2-month contract. We don't do a 6-month contract or a 12-month contract. We do a straight up flat fee retainer. It's not a percentage of ad rev or a percentage of sales or a percentage of profit or a percentage of ad spend. It's just a flat fee retainer for 2 months, and then once we see the initial results, then we'll adjust our retainer either up or down, and we may adjust it to a percentage of ad spend or a percentage of ad rev, depending on performance, but we'll just do a 2-month contract, then we'll renegotiate depending on the results. Because again, we're coming up with a forecast for you, and we want to make sure that, you know, the forecast is relative to the actual results 2 months down the road. Because if it's not, we need to adjust our retainer. And it doesn't make sense for us to just, like a typical agency does, give you a 6-month contract or a 12-month contract and expect you to pay us $5,000 a month for 6 months guaranteed, even though we don't even know if we can really get the results. So we need 60 days. Once we get, in 60 days, probably even 30 to just 45, we know what the results are going to be like. We can see the results if they're going to be great or if they're going to be poor. And you know what? If they are poor, we can reduce our retainer. If they're amazing, or we might have to increase our retainer depending on how great it is. That's kind of how we take contracts. It's a 60-day contract, then we renegotiate. In the renegotiation period, I like to push for 12-month contracts. That would be fantastic. Some people are still hesitant to do it, but I recommend that you push for a 12-month contract. The next thing is communication. Always be telling your clients what you're doing in their account. Always be updating them on things that are going on. Always make sure you send them weekly reporting on things that are the performance of things, the updates on the project. I really believe in over-communication. Like just telling the client everything that's going on all the time. That doesn't have to be every single day, but at least bare minimum, like once a week, you're sending them some form of message, updating them on what's going on, right? Because think about it, if you have an employee and that employee is working for you and the manager of that employee or anybody that's looking after that employee should at least hear from that employee once a week. It'd be pretty weird if you didn't hear from your employee at least once a week. Or you didn't at least receive a message from them, or you didn't see like work that they were doing or something, right? Because if you don't see it, then what happens is, and if you don't hear from them, you get worried that they're not doing the work. And it's very interesting. We had a client where we increased their sales by like $100,000 a month, and they still dropped us after a year because we sucked here in communication, all right? The last one is connection, very simple. Hey, it's Christmas, send them a Christmas card or send them a video, personal video. Hey, John, thank you so much for being our client. Just wanted to say Merry Christmas, etc. Or, hey, John, thank you so much for being our client. Just wanted to say happy birthday. Hope you have an amazing day. Looks like you're having some fun out in wherever he is, Mexico or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Just small talk connection. Hey, have a great day. Thanks so much. Happy New Year's, etc. Typical stuff like that. Builds connection. If you can follow your clients on LinkedIn, on Facebook, do it. You can, they'll see your posts, they'll see your posts, you'll see their posts, and it just builds stronger rapport, all right? Now, you probably don't want to follow them on Facebook and LinkedIn if you're posting shit about you drinking out of the club and fucking around and not doing actual work. I mean, it's probably not a good idea. I just post stuff about doing work on my Facebook and LinkedIn, so if they see that, they're probably going to be like, oh, great, this guy just works. He doesn't go out and party and drink, which I don't anymore. But these are the variables that you can master, and it results in retaining clients for 3+ years. Pretty high level. We didn't talk in depth. I didn't show you a contract. I didn't show you like anything specific to do with communication and emails, but I tried to go in depth as much as I could just with this on the whiteboard. But it's pretty simple, right? Like I'm not talking about anything crazy here. There's no like secret sauce or formula. It's these things, and that's pretty much it. So if you felt like I missed one, let me know in the comments section below. If there's something that, like a variable that you thought should have been added in here, let me know. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. I appreciate your time, and hopefully you can think about these variables and how you can improve on them to retain your clients for longer periods of time. And if you've lost clients in the past, I challenge you to think about which one of these variables it was that may have caused the client to leave. Usually this one isn't extremely important, but it helps. But these ones here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, these are the core right here. These are the core, all right? So thanks for watching this video. Hit that subscribe button below. I post a video once a week. I'm debating on doing twice a week, but honestly, I think the quality of the content would go down. I like to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I think if I did more than one video, it'd be too much talking and not enough doing. So thanks for watching this, and I'll see you guys next week. Hit that subscribe button below. Thanks so much. Ciao.